Let's talk about Tremor. I know that's probably not how you expected this video to start, but hear me out. Let's go all the way back to the middle of October in 2023. Tremor was still very widely considered a joke of a status. PM spent an entire season attempting to give support to it. They even tried to make it good by making it exactly like a better archetype, yet Tremor itself just wasn't good still. And that's for a lot of reasons I want to reserve for a dedicated Tremor video in the near-ish future. But all you really need to know right now is that Muller Otis was the only Tremor unit who truly did something with Tremor that no other ID did, making it somewhat effective as a source of extra sloth damage on Tremor Burst, with massive emphasis on the somewhat effective. Most people around that time, myself included, assumed that this would be the peak Tremor unit and that she would be the best thing Tremor got for a long, long time. Then, Walpurgisnacht was announced. The first time IDs would ever be exclusive, since they could not be sharded until the next Walpurgisnacht came around. And with that Walpurgisnacht came Regret Faust, a Tremor ID. I mean, just look at all the Tremor on that ID. It is staggering. More importantly though, her passive, which is a whopping 3 lines long, I know, you'll live, has this specific line. When this unit is alive, enemies affected by Tremor Burst gain 2 defense level down, 3 times per enemy per turn. Now, this is the only passive in the game that can affect other IDs' skills, by making their Tremor Bursts inflict defense level downs, which, in case you don't know, are basically mini fragiles. Stacking up to 6 of them by doing 3 Tremor Bursts, these become basically equivalent to about 2 fragile, or 20% more damage, which is and was a significant boost to viability for Tremor teams on the whole, since they had simple access to extra damage that other teams were generally lacking. And that was just for doing what they would normally be doing, bursting Tremor. Now, did this fix Tremor on the whole? Not quite, but it is fair to say that Regret Faust is one of, if not the most key members of a Tremor team due to this, and she made Tremor a lot better simply by virtue of her passive and her existence. But that's not who this video is about. I'm talking about Der Freischutz Otis, which is a different ID entirely, except that they fulfill the same role, being a band-aid solution for their status. And Otis is definitely the bigger example of this, which is why this video is mostly about her, but instead of Tremor, she fixes burn. But first, in case you clicked on this video without knowing what a band-aid solution is, it's usually defined as a temporary or superficial fix. And while the temporary part of that doesn't necessarily apply here, I can't deny that Der Freischutz Otis is a superficial solution to Burn's problems, at least superficial in the context of Limbus. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What is it about Otis that fixes burn even on a surface or superficial level? Well, most of you probably already know. Dark Flame. Her unique status effect, plus the fact that she has some of the highest rolling skills in the game by far, and burn IDs are generally lacking and clashing, but that's not what I want to focus on in this video. Dark Flame deals burn potency times Dark Flame count as pride damage to the enemy. She applies this on all of her skills to varying degrees, except the skill 2 when she's at or above 4 bullets. More on that later. And this ID alone basically solves all of Burn's main problems. The first being, well, the lack of IDs, since Otis's mere existence means Burn is feeling better as a status. Then the bigger one, Burn's damage being capped at 99 per turn, per enemy, per part. And she solves it in a big way. Burn was always pretty good at building up potency quickly, with Capote, Enclair's skill 2, Ardor Blossom Star, and just regular attacks. Dark Flame capitalizes on this upside big time, with her skill 1 basically being a free doubling of Burn's damage on its own, which is really nice, making the 99 damage per turn go up to a much better 198. The skill 2 is a little bit weirder. Recently, the wording for this was clarified and states that Dark Flame will only be applied when at less than 4 magic bullets, or basically whenever you gain a magic bullet, meaning that you can only really get a maximum of 3 Dark Flame on the first skill 2 used, and then 4 on the next one used. 3 Dark Flame still leads to 396 damage applying on turn end, accounting for the initial burn tick as well, then 4 Dark Flame is 495 damage. Then her skill 3 is a straight application of Dark Flame equal to the amount of bullets, which can go up to 7. This can vary, but if you get that 7 Dark Flame application, which definitely requires some ample usage of the defense skill to gain more bullets, then you are handsomely rewarded with 792 damage. It is worth noting, only 99 of that damage is true damage, as in damage that has no sin affinity. and will therefore always deal the advertised amount, since Dark Flame very specifically deals Pride damage. But 693 Pride damage could potentially double on Pride fatal enemies, meaning this is an absolutely massive leap in damage output for burn teams. Add on the fact that this is AoE, and you could apply 7 Dark Flame to multiple enemies or Abno parts. Or your allies, but I mean, God forbid women do anything. Either way, it's hardly a stretch to say that Der Freischutz Otis is the most essential member for a burn team by about a metric fuck ton. And therein lies the problem. We have seen individual IDs and ego that can make archetypes work before. Rhyme Shank with Sinking, and to a lesser extent, Muller Ishmael. Talisman Sinclair or W. Yi Sang with Rupture. Pre-Uptide 4, Dawn Telepole would count for this as well. But there's a key difference with those and Der Freischutz Otis or Regret Faust, hell, even Regret Merceau. All 3 of these are locked behind Walpurgisnacht. Now, look, I understand why this is a thing. It's not an uncommon business practice, it incentivizes spending, and I get it. Money is great and all, and necessary to continue running Limbus. But I really do think that Der Freischutz Otis makes me the most upset out of these 3 very notable Walpurgisnacht releases. Regret Faust is great. Her AoE on regular skills is honestly the biggest thing you miss out on, but while it is true that Tremor teams are made far better by her presence, it's not to the same extent as Otis with Burn, and we have plenty of Tremor IDs without her. Remember, the season she was released had a bunch of Tremor IDs. Not so with Otis. Regret Merceau's existence throws off the balance of Merceau as a sinner due to this passive, and having that be locked behind Walpurgisnacht is annoying, but this is an ego, and is not going to be used everywhere due to the stipulations that come with that. But Otis hurts. The main reason why I already talked about, and that is how bad Burn is without her. And also, this is the first Burn ID in literal months, and she will be locked back in the vault periodically every few months, starting shortly after this video releases. This is really the main reason why I think it's fair to say that these 2 IDs in particular really are superficial or band-aid fixes, due to the nature of Walpurgisnacht making them innately more scarce than the other IDs. What doesn't help is the fact that Dark Flame, while an insanely strong status for Burn, will likely be completely unique to Der Freischutz Otis, meaning that, while in an overall sense, Burn's problems are solved by her, if you don't have her, which is very likely to be the case for a lot of players, especially new players, Burn still doesn't really exist. Now, this is not an unsolvable situation, nor is this video meant to be a doom post of any sort, since I think the solution is really, really simple. Just release more Burn IDs. This means that Burn won't be stuck with its 5 IDs plus 1 Walpurgisnacht exclusive, and it opens the door for more potentially strong Burn support, and maybe that support will be strong in a completely different way than how Dark Flame is. Now, who knows? Maybe after this video, it'll be nothing but Burn IDs for the rest of the season, and I will look stupid. The Diachi banner is a bad sign, but maybe that whole To Claim Their Bones event will be changed to, like, To Claim Their Firewood or something. But if we have another 6-month-long wait to go through in order to get another Burn ID, I will be extremely disappointed in the way Project Moon has handled Burn. Now, is this me basically immediately complaining despite asking for Burn so much and then proceeding to get it? Yeah. But I really think making the first support for an archetype in 6 months in exclusive ID could easily end up being the wrong move if we do not see any Burn support in the near future. The other issue with releasing IDs like this is something that also applied to Poise. For a long time with Poise, and I mean a long time, the sentiment has been that it needs to be buffed. Fundamentally, since the damage increase by default is very low. A flat plus 20% damage modifier just doesn't feel very good and isn't very befitting of a critical hit. But now we have IDs like Pirate Gregor, who explodes people into a fine red vapor, and First Mate Yusang, whose damage would spiral into even more insane levels if the base damage of Poise crits was increased. Now with Burn, uncapping it would make it very good on its own, but it would also make it way too strong in combination with Der Freischutz Otis. But without her, it still just sucks. Both of these statuses could have very reasonably been fundamentally buffed before the IDs that were added to fix the status existed. But now, the fact that these IDs do exist make those fundamental changes even less likely to happen than, frankly, they already were. So, to me, it's clear that PM has put their foot down, and it's not shocking. I think Dark Flame is a clear statement that no statuses will be receiving direct changes, and instead, all adjustments will come as a result of new IDs releasing and changing the status's viability in the game on a holistic level, rather than individually buffing the status. Again, this is undeniably the smartest business move, but it does kind of suck to see nonetheless, and even if it is smart business, it's not immune to criticism. And criticize it I will. Knowing that the requirements for team building something like Burn already requires a Walpurgisnacht locked ID, and I really do mean requires, unlike Regret Faust with Tremor, is pretty unfortunate. Sure, to players who have everything, Burn is feeling good enough now. But to the little guy who just started Limbus who wants to run a Bleed, Rupture, Tremor, or Burn team, which is completely valid, Walpurgisnacht really does hold a lot of key IDs behind it, meaning team building is somewhat stifled, and will likely continue to be stifled. If the trend of Walpurgisnacht IDs are cores of status team composition continues, Limbus becomes a waiting game for a lot of people who want to run those teams, even more than it already can be, which I wouldn't like very much, even if it would not affect me. Though obviously, the 3 stars are the biggest issue. The 2 stars are generally easy to get for almost anybody. However, there is a silver lining here, and that's the fact that Limbus has a support system, meaning that literally anyone can have access to literally any ID at literally any level with literally any ego at literally any time. Literally. And for those who may want access to some of these IDs, my friend code is on screen now. I'll put all the Walpurgisnacht IDs that I have into it, but the friend request will only work if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. I mean, you may as well help me try to get to 15,000 subscribers before the Limbus anniversary if you're gonna borrow my IDs. Just, don't ask how I'll know if you're subscribed or not based on the friend request. Just know that I'll know. Somehow. However, as nice as this system is, it does not eliminate my criticism of this kind of solution to the bad statuses in Limbus. I don't want people getting the wrong idea. I like Freischutz Otis. She is the support Burn needed, as I've said. But also, as I've said, the exact issue is that Otis and Otis alone is the only ID that can save Burn currently, and she'll be leaving the reach of the general public very, very soon. I know I sound like a broken record, but I don't want the point of this video to be misconstrued at all. So, the ball is in Project Moon's court, and personally, I'm hopeful that they can pleasantly surprise me in a myriad of ways, whether that be buffing something innately, which I would love, or making the next Walpurgisnacht ID not be nearly as hard required for making a team function as Otis does, and instead give us another ID that makes another archetype do great, but isn't locked behind 3 months of waiting. And hey, if they continue to go down the same route as what they did with Otis, I just hope they make another ID that's as damn fun as she is. And that's all from me. As always, thank you for watching. This video ends now.